C'est écoute de l'XCP.
Paris, how are you? Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yay. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Where are your people from? Where are you from? How'd you get here?
Born and raised in Boston. I left a couple of times, moved to LA, moved to New York, came back. So Boston.
Boston is a very interesting city to me. And I don't know, someone told me once that Boston has the highest concentration of universities in like a city in the country, which makes total sense because Paris, y'all got a lot of educational situations.
We do.
Specifically in like downtown Boston. There's like 11 colleges in like a 2-mile radius.
Emerson, BU, BC, MIT, Harvard, like we got it all. So, but funny enough, I left to go to college somewhere else.
I'm not going to lie to you, sis. I'm kind of glad you left. I left to go to college too. I think it should be required.
Yeah. No, you want to see other parts of the world, meet new people, see how things are elsewhere. That's what I did. I love New York. So I went to New York and New York has my heart.
But Boston got your rent check. I understand.
It does.
It does. Shout out to Boston. Okay. Okay. Today's lesson, we're talking about taking initiative and what does it look like to just own the thing that you want and go try to do it. But then also within that, asking for help when you can't do something. So tell me when you first, what was the first hard lesson of like, yo, I could have just started doing stuff myself?
Yeah, so it actually happened. It wasn't that long ago. It's probably, I don't know if you could consider 7 years ago, a long time ago. But I broke into tech through a boot camp. And so that's where it's an accelerated program. You're learning to code within 8 weeks, right? So I'm learning something completely different. And I was around like 24 at the time. And I was given an assignment. It was in person in a classroom. I was given an assignment. I didn't understand something. I went to the teacher and I asked, hey, I don't understand this. I don't get it. What do I do? And he responded back. He was like, well, what did you try? And I was like baffled. And I was like, nothing, because I don't know. I just didn't try anything. I don't get it. And he was like, go back, try to figure out yourself. Come back to me in like 10 minutes if you don't get it. I was like, okay. So I went back to my seat. I tried it. I still couldn't figure it out, but I did get further ahead. And then what that helped me do is produce better questions for him, something that's more specific that he can answer directly. And that was my first lesson of learning, like, take initiative, try it yourself. Don't ask for help immediately when you didn't do anything to figure it out on your own. And since then, that's what I've practiced. And what's funny is I try to teach this same lesson to other people. I'm also baffled when someone comes to me without having done anything themselves. And then I have to remember, like, okay, well, I was them too, So teach them that lesson. Hopefully they continue processing it throughout life.
I had a friend and a mentor once tell me, she said, Lexi, I really hate when people come to me and say, help me. And then I say, great, what can I help you with? And they don't know. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty infuriating. I said, but why don't you like it? And she said, it's kind of like you saying, I need help getting to the mall. And then I get in your car and I'm like, so what mall are we going to? And you're like, I don't know. And it's so infuriating because it's like, I can't make up these things for you. You need to give me a track and a plan.
You can't be too general when there's so many options, I mean, I've gotten the question like, how do I get into tech? And I'm like, well, tech is a massive industry with hundreds of sectors and hundreds of different types of jobs and skills. So I don't know. Like, what are you looking for? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know either.
What I think interesting about this topic is that I do sometimes think that it's a balance. Well, not sometimes. Life is always a balance. So we have the people that come to you to ask without actually taking the initiative to do it themselves. And then therefore your answer is, I don't know, go do some more research and then come back to me so we can actually have a more strategic conversation. We do have the other side though, which I'm sure you've seen, where people refuse to ask for help. Tell me about that. Tell me why that's dangerous.
You just waste so much time and you might be going in a completely different direction than you should be going. And then depending if this is like during your job, day job or something. It just reflects poorly on you. And so you do need to know when to ask for help. That's why like you should really have a time limit of trying to figure something out. And if you're not getting ahead in, a small enough amount of time, then you ask for help, but you want to ask for help with the proper questions because it's going to be hard for someone that you're asking for help. It's going to be hard for them to say, well, I need to know what you tried so that I don't give you this repetitive information, right? So there's really strategy in asking for help. And there's also, you need to sort of lower that ego, your pride when asking for help as well, just because at the end of the day, a job needs to get done and you want to get ahead. So you got to do it.
And also, I would argue, I think that we live in a society where we assume that the person who is your manager or the person who's done this job longer knows more than you.
Oh,
that's very inaccurate.
It is.
And I think to bring it back home, I think that that's where the ego comes in of like, I'm not going to ask this person for help because I am supposed to know the answer. And I always tell folks like a lot of these executives, they don't know the answer either. The number of times where people at work ask me for help and I'm like, that is actually a great question. You know what? Let's go talk to so-and-so because girl, I don't.
Right.
So lowering that ego. But tell me about that. Tell me about you working with people with higher positions with alleged sexier titles that you've had to navigate of like, oh, you don't know either.
That's happened so many times. It happens now throughout my life. Where I'll ask for help or guidance on something. And something that I find, this is common, is that it's not so much that they have the answer, it's that they're helping me navigate my way to the answer in a more strategic fashion, if that makes sense. And so, no, they don't know everything. Doesn't matter how high up you are, no one has all the answers. And you might be more knowledgeable on something than they are, and that's the case for everybody. But there's something you can take from everyone that you're asking for help from, Again, we all have sort of like these different experiences and different wisdom. And we just help each other sort of get to where we need to go by providing that to others.
So give me an example of a time as an adult where you actively decided to take the initiative to do something. And how did it turn out? Why was taking the initiative so helpful for your success?
This thing is happening where you're asking me a question and it might go in a different direction. I've taken initiative like a lot of times throughout my life where I'm not waiting for someone. I'm like, I'm just going to do this. I don't know how it's going to turn out because I don't have all the answers or the experience, but let's just see what happens. Like I took the initiative with moving to LA. I wanted to try and become an actress and a screenwriter. I didn't know anything about the industry, I just knew this is what I loved. And I went out there, I got my experience. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I learned so much. And from that, I feel like that is still very successful, regardless if I achieve the dream of becoming this big famous actress or not, right? So that's taking initiative. I'm not waiting for someone. I'm not waiting for someone to give me money to move out there. I took all my jewelry and sold it to a pawn shop. And I was like, I'm taking my flight and I'm going. My friend lived out there. They allowed me to live with them for a little bit. And that's what I did, right? I'm taking that initiative. There was going to my boot camp for coding. I was a wax specialist at European Wax Center, which is really funny. I was a wax specialist and I had a client who was a software engineer herself come in and tell me, you should really learn to code. A lot of these jobs are going to be replaced by machines. And I realized like, while it won't be replaced in years from now, but wax specialists can be replaced by laser hair removal. That's permanent hair removal, right? So I was like, okay, I am being impacted. What can I do to secure to have better job security, right? And so I took the initiative of looking for ways to code, right? And I found a boot camp, and I, went to a hackathon because the hackathon is how you can get into the boot camp. It's sort of like a interview almost. I found out there was, a hackathon that weekend. And I went, knew nothing about coding, knew nothing about tech. And I ended up getting into the boot camp. And now my life has forever changed, from that. And so, again, I'm not sitting here waiting for people. I'm not going, oh, I want to get into tech, but I don't know how to do it. I don't feel like Googling. I don't feel like asking people like, hey, what can I do to get in? I'm not saying oh, the hackathon is this weekend. I don't really want to go this weekend. Maybe I'll try it next time. Like, no, I'm not waiting for any of that. I'm like, I'm going to do it immediately. I'm going to find out these answers immediately or as best as I can. Um, because again, when you're waiting for people, you don't know the opportunities you're missing. But when it came to sort of my education and asking questions within my education, that's where I learned later in life, like, you know, attempt yourself, then come to me for help.
I also want to honor that the attempt actually gives you more street cred. When you are asking for people's time to talk to you, to receive advice, you being able to come and say, well, here are the 3 things that I've already done. Would love your opinion if those things are accurate, if I'm on the right path. But it gives you a lot of street cred to help you build the relationships that you need in order to navigate those next steps. But tell me your thoughts on that.
This is true. And again, so that is something I learned. This is from the same teacher that I had during my boot camp where they taught me like, go try yourself first, then come back. That is true. To me, I was telling you before, when that sort of interaction happened, for me, it was a little embarrassing because I felt like as an adult, I should have known that, but I didn't. It's not something I did. But after that, like that is what I've practiced since then. Um, and so when I come to this same teacher who is now my mentor, who I go to for, just life questions, period, I'm always coming to him with a plan first. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I've tried. This is what I've researched. What do you think? What's your point of view on this? And I do that with everyone now. And then I also teach people who are coming to me with questions, this is how to better frame your question. This is what I need in order to better answer that question. So it's just like a life practice. And I think, yeah, like it does give you street cred. I think it does show you in a better light just because like I told you earlier, when people do come to me with these very general questions, for me, I'm like, oh my God, like, why didn't they do XYZ before coming to me? Like it feels a little judgmental. And then again, I have to remember, like I was them once. I also just didn't come to someone properly with questions and background of what I've already done. But when people do come to me after having done all of those things, it is like a breath of fresh air.
Now that you're in tech, now that in many ways, at least in this industry, you are now the mentor. What are some of the questions that people should be researching before they come to a person like you for the next step?
Number one, I do want to know like what your goals are. So have that in mind. Like, what is your ultimate goal? Again, something I learned from my own mentor. Do you want to climb the ladder to become VP? Do you just want like a lot of money? Like, what is it? What is your goal? Because that's going to help me also sort of better frame that response. So that's number one. What is it that you're trying to achieve at the end of the day? And then number two, when it comes to breaking into tech, tech is this industry, so many sectors. Do you want to be, in cloud? Do you want to be like, there's so many things, engineer, data analyst, designer, like, what is it that you want to be? That's number one. I need to know what it is that you're achieving. What sector do you want to be in? Do you want to be in health tech, fintech, martech, gov tech? Like, what sector is it? That's also going to help me. And once I have those things, that's when I can properly more better form a response for you. But I also need to know where you are. Sort of, are you entry level? Are you senior? Where are you in your career? How much experience do you actually have? Those are other things. So at least coming to me with that background, that would better help me.
I think what you said about what do you want is so poignant. And this season, somehow all of these lessons, we're talking about this, right? How sometimes it's really hard for humans to just say, this is what I want and this is why. And I would love your interpretation and your take on that, since it's clear that every guest recently, we somehow get to this. Why is it so hard for us humans to define our future before it happens?
I think we think about like the now, maybe. We're thinking about, currently, what do I need currently, right? When it's really like, where is it that you're trying? What is the end point? Like, what are you trying to do? Because that's going to help you sort of better map out how you get there. And that's going to include what you're doing currently. So maybe that's why. And I think also, a lot of people may have a hard time coming to terms with the thing that they want may not seem very, this isn't the proper word, but I want to say like moral, not moral, but I think a lot of people like, if I say that I'm chasing the money, do I sound like a capitalist? Like if I say that I just want to climb the ladder, do I sound like someone who just wants to look down on people? I think a lot of people have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that that is not what any of that means. We all have our own goals for our own reasons. Um, and so I think that's it. And I don't know what the word for that is. It's sort of like an internal judgment or, fear of being judged by others because of what your goals are.
I would even argue it's maybe even just fear of your own identity.
Um,
That's an identity factor, right? And I think that sometimes we don't say things with our chest because we're saying them in the inside and we're like, well, that sounds bad. So I'm not going to say it out loud, but that's actually what I want. And so it sounds to me like what you're saying is that if you're just real with me of what you want, it's much easier for me to help you. And even if that help is I cannot help you, maybe you know someone in your network who can, but just even being able to say I cannot help you with that is actually very transformative.
and it doesn't waste anyone's time either.
Girl, I tell folks, do not waste you can waste my money, but do not waste my time. I prefer you not waste either. But if we're going to choose, do not waste my time at all. What does taking initiative look like in your personal life?
So for me, it's being direct, great communication, direct communication, not being rude, but you need to be direct because you want to get things done. Timely communication, communicating on time. That's, to me, all those things are going to be like within taking initiative. And just trying to do things yourself. And if you cannot, best explaining what is it that you're trying to achieve so that it can get done. And that does involve me doing research on things that I'm not really aware of, but I want to learn as much as possible so that when I'm communicating that to someone who maybe I hired or I'm working with and we need to get something done, I'm best explaining what it is that we need to do, so that we can get it done as quickly as possible. So yeah, just taking that initiative, really putting in the effort necessary. That means taking out time to do that research and learn things on my own, even if I'm not going to be the one to sort of implement it. So those are all those things. It's like really being a leader of your own life and not sitting there just waiting for others to sort of like build you up or push you forward, because that's literally what everyone else is trying to do for themselves. So you need to do it for yourself.
I like that, being a leader of your own life. I also, as you were talking, we're thinking about what does it look like to take initiative in just all of these aspects of your life, right? Personal, professional, your love life. Some of y'all needs to be taking initiative in your love life. I just want to put that out there. It is not my business, but I'm watching on the internet and and I wonder what would romance look like if people took more initiative? I don't know. Thinking out loud. But I love that concept you said of like being the leader of your own life, owning your actual narrative. What was the moment for you or the experience where you decided, you know what, this is my life and I have to be the leader of it and I refuse to let other people lead my life? What happened?
So I went through like a lot of bullying, and I always did this thing where I wanted to be liked, right? Like I was liked, but there were people I wanted to be liked by that I just shouldn't have cared to be liked by, if that made sense. And I think it got to a point where I had bullies that were just like truly mean people. And they did something that pushed me to a point where I was like, you know what? F this. I'm done. I don't care if I have 0 friends. You're not going to get me to that point ever again. And after that, I completely changed. And I became this person who, it's not so much that I'm a loner, but I am 100% okay by myself. And that includes not just friendships. I even mean like relationships. I'm engaged and I love my fiance. But at the end of the day, I'm okay by myself. I'm not gonna be this person who relies on people and wants to be dependent on others. and be dependent on their views towards me in order to feel that I am valuable or successful in any way. I want to feel that way about myself. I want to be confident and sure about myself, not because of what other people think, just because I like me, I like what I'm doing, I like how I move, and I'm happy with that. I got to that point a long time ago, and that's just, it's shaped and molded me to be the person that I am now. And some people need that. Some people, like, they need those instances in life where they just get pushed so far to the point where they're like, you know what, I'm done. And it shapes and molds them into a leader or just a different person than they were before. That gives them more confidence, and more clarity.
Well, I think that pushes us to be owners. Because I know for me in high school, I was also bullied a lot too. So I'm like sending you a hug. I remember being that age and it was horrific. And I never ever want to go back. But I think sometimes we people please and want to be liked or want something that someone else has. Not because you actually like that person, but you don't want to do the work to define who you are. You don't want to take the initiative to own your life. So you're like, well, I'm just going to kind of like follow the leader because I am not prepared to be a leader. And so I think twistedly, the bullying for me prepared me to be a leader and pushed me to a point of like, look, I can't do this. So I'm going to have to do the inner work to figure out what's going on, you know? So last question for you. Who are you? Reintroduce yourself to us. Who are you?
So I am Paris. I love to say that I am an imperfect human because I am. I am going to make mistakes. I'm going through life for the first time, just like everyone else. So do not expect perfection from me. I am someone who loves community. I love giving back. I love people. I love helping. And, I'm a person who changes my mind. I try new things. I love some things. I don't like some things. Sometimes I don't like things, then try them again and I love them. I'm just a person going through life and I'm trying to be as kind as possible. That's really it.
I love it. Well, thank you for doing life with me today for a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. This was great. Thank you so much.